Hold on to your hats, people. The Fed has spoken. The Fed has spoken. Ding dong, the witch is dead. The wicked witch is dead. The Fed has spoken. The world must respond. What will happen? We'll get into it. We'll also get into your questions, your comments, and your real estate needs. 214-310-0008. This is DFW Real Estate with Todd Tremonti. I am Todd Tremonti. And we've got a full studio, but not the typical characters in studio today. We do have full price Courtney, producer extraordinaire of all things audio, digital, and video.
Feels like we've been changing things up lately.
The Court, Coatney, even Carl from time to time. I
wish that would stick.
I know you do.
Carl Cleveland.
We just like to keep it swirling. We've also got Gibson, father of two. Gibby.
2 babies.
Howdy.
Fortunately an Aggie. There it is. Always up front. All right. Well done, by the way, on delightful baby girl number 2. It's good work.
Girl gang.
It's good work out there. Listen, girl dads unite. Girls are great. Make you feel special when you come home.
Women are incredible.
Listen, I think at all ages, you're right. You know, it's a good deal. All right. Hey, if you have real estate questions, let us know. 214-310-0008 or online at
TheTremontiTeam.com.
Now, we got a lot to cover today, so we're going to get into it. But first and foremost, Patrick Glaros and his mortgage team at Cardinal Financial have helped make this show possible since day one. Patrick and his team are the only mortgage team that I have ever personally used. My wife and I have used Patrick every single time we've ever gotten a residential mortgage, and we trust them with our business. We think you probably ought to also. PatrickGlaros.com, Glaros, PatrickGlaros.com, just about as good as it gets. PatrickGlaros.com. Now, we got a couple of things going on. First and foremost, Courtney on her 13th selfie right now, so make sure you find her on the social.
I have to get them right.
Make sure.
I thought we had great lighting in the studio.
It really seemed like a significant commitment there to get that right. If you have questions, let us know. We're serious when we say that. You should already have this phone number saved in your cell phone, 214-310-0008. You can call it. You can text it. You can say, hey, we're thinking about buying. We're thinking about selling. We want to invest. Or, hey, we want to renovate. What do you think about adding on? What do you think about taking a wall out? We're here to help you. We want to add value in your life. Of course, when it's time to buy and sell and invest, we would love an opportunity to earn your business and your trust. But we really enjoy using our God-given gifts and ability to add value in your life, even when we're not earning a commission. So literally save this phone number in your cell phone when you have real estate wants and needs and questions. We're happy to help. 214-310-0008. Now, Courtney, you have a microphone and you're unmuted. I want you to use this wisely, but produce away, produce the show.
Well, I mean, we've got Gibson in the studio.
You're right.
And he has an awesome buyer story for us that I think is important to share.
Why?
Well, for us to tell you why we give you the edge, why we are the experts. Mm-hmm. We have an over-under guarantee. Mm-hmm. And we've got examples, real life things that are happening.
Yep. Not misleading headlines.
That's right.
Not bait and switch, clickbaity
garbage. We do what we say we're going to do. You want an expert. We make it happen for you. And this is an awesome example of how Gibson kept fighting and kept pushing.
Take it away, Gibbo.
Real story, not fake news.
No.
Buyer clients of mine, we've been looking in Richardson for probably 3 to 4 months now. Found an awesome property, got it under contract. We were going to close in 15 days. That is a conventional financing, 15-day close. Sellers were elated with the terms that we got. And we get an appraisal within the first 5 days of this contract, and it is $71,000 short.
Pause for effect.
Our contract price.
Pause for effect. Okay, so you are representing the buyer. You've negotiated a deal that's a really good-looking transaction for them. Price and terms are really favorable to the buyer, but the sellers are also really happy with it. So this is exactly what we look for, right? Win-win. Then the appraiser, who is a neutral third party sent out by the buyer's bank, comes out and says, okay, we just want to make sure it's worth what you're borrowing. Ooh, hang tight. We are how much off?
$71,000.
$71,000 off. Now, this is not a $71 million property where $71,000 might not be a big deal. This is a big deal. So, what happens?
Normal practice from here is to dispute appraisal. I myself am pushing most of that dispute. I've got to run comps, I've got to run reports, and just protest essentially what this appraisal's put together.
Now, we talk about this all the time, and Courtney, you'll be glad to know that I was at the deer lease when Gibson called me about this, and we talked through it. Now, the one thought when you represent the buyer, and this is not normal in real estate thinking. What's normal is like, let's just get it done. But what is one of the thoughts on our team is like, okay, hold on. How is this an advantage to our buyer? What do we do here to make sure that our buyer benefits from this and doesn't get penalized by this, right? So we talked through all the scenarios. Gibson's running through all the potential deals. Are we going to be able to are they going to be able to purchase it for less? Are they going to get something in return for this frustration? Are they going to make sure they don't lose any advantages or leverage or opportunity here? So we're having all those conversations, and then...
Oh, yeah, we run hypotheticals. Are we going to split hairs here? Is it $35,000 from my buyers? Is it $35,000 from the sellers? Eventually we say, hey, this is an uphill battle for sure, the choice that we are about to make, but let's shift lenders. This lender doesn't want to dispute this appraisal. There's $71,000 difference. They feel exposed. Mm-hmm. We shift lenders. We get a new appraisal out, and appraisal comes back $5,000 over my contract price.
Right. So now your buyer, who was already really, really happy with the transaction, now they have a much more legitimate, reliable valuation, and they know we are still buying this thing under market value in a market where that's not normal at all. And the sellers are ecstatic that you were willing to work with them so they didn't just get absolutely hosed on a deal. So buyers get, honestly, an annoying obstacle and a favorable outcome. Sellers get a terrifying obstacle and a buyer and an agent that work with them to get a highly desirable outcome. And everybody gets what they want at the end of the day. Now, net, talk about what your buyers were able to achieve with as much specificity as is appropriate. But what's possible out there in the market right now?
Yeah.
What can I get and how hard is it? What's going on?
Yeah. So this particular deal, we had $13,500 in seller credit, which is giving my buyer a 2-1 buy down. Year one of their loan, they're going to get a whole 2% bought from what current rates are today. And then year two, they'll enter a single point buy down, and it won't be till year three that they experience where they're locked at today, which was 6.25%, I believe.
Yep. And by then, there's a decent chance that the going rate could be lower, and they have an opportunity to refinance if they want. If not, they had a very affordable ramp up to a really respectable interest rate. Gosh, when I got in the business, people would have gone crazy for that rate. And it wasn't, 20-something years ago. So all that to say, you've got super happy buyers. You've got sellers who are unbelievably grateful that you were able to keep the deal together and work with them. Everyone involved is happy. Your buyers have a very good deal on a house in a market that is still one that in many ways is either semi-balanced or slightly favoring sellers. And we can do this for buyers, not automatic, not every single time. They're not all quite as simple as easy as the next one. But we are still guaranteeing to save buyers at least $5,000 throughout the process. Your buyer got a home $5,000 below appraisal value, plus they got $13,000+ from the seller, plus they got a good deal on a house with a ton of upside potential. You guys are thinking that by the time they roll into that actual locked rate and things and put a little bit of love into it, it could be worth significantly more, right?
Oh, yeah. Their plan is to build a pool in probably 2 years because they didn't have to chunk off a $35,000 appraisal split.
Yeah. So
I think for me, I'm struck by just in this example, the advantage of and why you want to work with a real estate agent.
Yep.
Like it's just the perfect example of like, oh, I can do this. We can do this with our contract. You know, I wouldn't have known how to navigate any of that.
Yeah. And I would add to that. That's exactly where I was going to go. So thank you. And Courtney does such a good job of giving us she's the only person on our team that's not licensed.
Cheers.
She argues that she wants to get licensed. And I'm like, no, there's value in you not going down the rabbit hole. So she gives us kind of that mentality of what the consumer typically thinks. But yes, the difference here was that they had an agent. But it's not that they had an agent. It's that they had Gibson.
That's right.
It's that they had an excellent agent on a great team, super resourced, who didn't panic when that happened. By the way, let's be honest, I had some value around here, but when Gibson called me, he already kind of knew what he was going to do. Just like, hey, let me run this by you, see if you see this any differently. And I don't know that I really did. And so he had a great game plan in place. We had 2-3 different ways it could go. Got to work. Buyers are ecstatic. Sellers are unbelievably thankful. Right now, more than any time in my 21 plus years in the business, deals are falling apart more than I've ever seen. Sellers are going under contract and wanting out. Buyers are going under contract and wanting out. Lenders are getting involved in deals that they ultimately want out of. We've never seen this much, and it's not all the time, but it's a higher percentage than ever before. And having a great agent, a full-time agent, an agent with resources, an agent with a team, an agent that does enough business that they know they've seen these things before is a game changer. It's not just an agent, it's a great agent, which Gibson brought to this transaction for his buyers, and they're absolutely thrilled. Now, when you talk about having that incredible team around you, one of the other major players in that whole kind of who are my vendor team, who are my experts, is your insurance person. We've got DP Lambert on the line. What's up, DP?
How we doing, y'all?
We're doing really well. Courtney just lit up. She was really excited to hear from you. Look at that. We're glad to have you with us, man. We're talking about how critical it is for buyers and sellers, especially buyers, to have kind of that crew, that team of experts around them as they head into buying a home or refinancing or investing or whatever the case is. Real quick, DP's our guy from Goosehead Insurance. He's done my personal insurance for a long time. And anything that I need in the world of insurance, which, like it or not, is all the things in the world of insurance, DP takes care of. And that there's rarely and occasionally something that's bleeds out beyond his expertise. He connects me with somebody else at Goosehead. So saved us a ton of money, helped us increase coverage, not just keep coverage over the years. This is our guy, DP Lambert. So real fast, dude, what is happening right now in the world of homeowners and auto insurance? Because it seems like I'm having more and more conversations about it, and people are kind of freaking out. So what is up?
Yeah, that's a loaded question for sure. I've just been listening in, I guess, the past, few minutes I've jumped on the call. And, just now you mentioned, deals falling apart more than ever. I'd say historically, in years past, I've been doing this for 6-7 years. Insurance, typically, it shouldn't be historically one of the reasons, that a deal falls apart. But in the last year or two, the way the insurance market has panned out, that's definitely come into play more as a very crucial part to get done in the deal. When it's usually a very, very simple process, but the way the market has shaken out the last couple of years, the at a bird's eye view, no insurance company in the industry right now is profitable at the moment because of just the way claims and loss ratios have shaken out really across the country, but specifically we're talking DFW right now. It's been a very difficult market, to say the least. And so, myself as a broker or any other insurance broker that, is an expert, knows what they're talking about, just having options is the major key here, and even on our end is, options have been severely limited. I'm used to having 30 carriers that I can write business with. As of late, in a highly populated, 4 DFW counties, that has not been the case. It's just been, companies have shut down new business for, trying to maintain profitability and get back up to the green from the red.
So just as a brief summary, about how many are viable right now? Just ballpark.
I would say on a good like a good one would be 4 or 5 options.
Okay. So
typically I would say on average, it might be 2, maybe 3, sometimes 1. And so it's much more of a jigsaw puzzle than it was before. And my job, used to be, man, let's just plug it in and have all these options and get the cheapest one, and I'm the hero.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, I can still be the hero. It'll just look a little different, Insurance is a lot more expensive.
Yeah. Well,
and we just got to find reasonable, somewhat reasonable options.
Well, people have to understand what you just said is that because of weather patterns and claims percentages and all that stuff, that's literally how an insurance company prices your insurance, right? It's, hey, can we be profitable? Who's our ideal person that we want to cover? Is it a 1-income household, a 2-income? Is it a 1 vehicle? Is it a 2 vehicle? Is it big houses, small houses? Is it waterfront? Whatever. And so just like any business, they're going, hey, who can we help? And who can we help and make some money? There's nothing wrong with that. People have vilified insurance companies, and sometimes rightfully so. But the point you're making, or at least the thing that I'm taking most from what you're making, is because of market conditions, weather patterns or whatever, there are fewer options. And so the consumer who needs insurance is in a riskier situation if you get it wrong, right? So if you go someplace where you are going to a person with an option, with one option, you're pretty likely to be in a bad situation. You need options, and there are less options overall. So you better go to somebody that has options and who's willing to be a little more creative and listen and understand, can we tweak some coverage? Can we increase coverage? Is your life changing and you need different coverage? And then what are the options and what's the best way to approach it? To your point, we're seeing people back out of real estate deals because they didn't realize how much the insurance was going to impact the cost of ownership. And so what we like to do is get people connected to you early so they know that up front. Okay, here's what my cost is going to look like. Here's what my coverage is going to look like. And we are not seeing people bail out of transactions. We're seeing people that have appropriate expectations and that are at least satisfied. They're thrilled with you and your team, but they're at least satisfied with the cost of coverage, knowing that, we'd all like it to be 0, but that's not the way it's going to be. So understanding those things, what does it look like if you're my insurance guy, which is kind of how I talk about it? What does that look like year to year to have you help me with that, where I don't really think a lot about insurance? You're the one doing that for me. What does that relationship look like?
I think the biggest point to drive home here is just people understanding the why of why this is all going on, because that's, whether it's a new client that I'm talking to or a current client, it's a lot of conversations with current clients because rates are so changing. Cost is one thing, like you mentioned, but I think too, is just understanding, I got a non-renewal with this carrier. Every carrier has a different appetite in general. Right now, a lot of them are extremely picky. They're getting a lot more picky on the business they want to retain, if you will. And so it just leaves a lot of question marks, right? And if you don't have an agent like myself, if you're just trying to do this on your own, you just won't know the why. You'll just be confused, And so that's my job, I think, in the conversations I'm having day to day about people's insurance year to year, is it's very much changing, And so that's what I see a ton in my day to day right now, is just conversations of people saying, but yes, the cost is higher, but hey, why is this going on? What are the, explain to me what the heck is going on here,
Well, and to me, the coverage is such a big deal. Like if you're on some website or you're on just some punch it in and price it out deal, you're not going to like the price. And there's no way the average person really understands what the coverage looks like. So when I have a conversation with you, it's 5 minutes because we've been doing this for multiple years. And you're like, oh yeah, I know you guys added a vehicle. I know this is going on. And so, hey, I looked at these couple things. Anything else I need to look at? Great. Hey, we want to be really careful of that. Okay, cool. Let's move forward. Otherwise, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say on that note, to me, it's very simple stuff I look at every day. But I had a conversation yesterday with a guy that his insurance went up from $2,500 to $4,000 for the year, which honestly isn't too bad. I'd say the average in DFW right now is anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 on a new quote, and he got one for $3,000 somewhere else. And I was like, hey, just shoot it over to me. If it's legit, I will let you know. And sure enough, it had a 5% wind hail deductible on it versus mine was 2%. Which is a difference. I think for him was like $20,000 for a wind hail deductible.
Yeah.
Versus $6,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For someone that doesn't understand that
$14,000 more than you need to be, I think it's worth the extra $1,000 in premium.
And you're going to get it. You're going to have hail. Like wind and hail is going to happen to you. And a lot of people don't think about that, right? They just want low payment, and they don't realize.
And you see 2% and 5%. You're like, oh, that's they probably wouldn't think much of that. I'm like, that's $14,000.
Well, if you have a $500,000 house,
right?
Think about that. If you have an $800,000 house, these are big numbers. Percentage of total value when you have a claim, and you're going to have a claim. So yeah, this is the stuff I'm talking to people about all the time. I'm like, listen, you don't need, of course you need insurance, but what you really need is an insurance expert. You need your person, your guy or your girl. You need the person that you're like, DP takes care of that for me. I text or call and it gets taken care of. Year one, you need to have more and more of a conversation. Year two, we always have a conversation, but the more you know me, my family, my business, my needs, the easier it gets. I'm trusting that that's getting evaluated. We talk once a year, whether we need to, you and I talk more than that, but you talk once a year and just go, hey, anything changed? Anything going on? Okay, what do we need? Cool, let's lock it in. So you can move me from one carrier to another, but you're my guy every year, all year, every month, every week, every day. And I believe that's what people need, because you're just not going to become an expert at insurance and all these things. You need an expert. So how can people get a hold of you right now if they do need that?
Yeah, absolutely. I know, you guys are always plugging the email and phone number, but it's as simple as that. If there's something in my inbox, it's getting done. So dp.lambert@goosehead.com is the easiest, most direct way. Obviously, my phone number is fine too. If I don't answer, I will get back to you at some point.
Well, I give the email out just because it's also your name, so it's easy for people to remember. dp.lambert@goosehead.com. And I'm telling you, DP will be humble about this, but I'm telling you, if you have not shopped your insurance in the last 6 months, I think you're being irresponsible. I still love you, but I think that is unwise. Every penny you can save, you should, and you need to be very, very careful about your coverage, especially the way renewals and non-renewals work and the way they're working right now. You've just got to be heads up. You got to understand these things are changing dramatically, and if you're not paying attention, you might be in a really dangerous situation. dp.lambert.
Be ahead of, for sure.
Yeah, dp.lambert@goosehead.com. He's going to take great care of you. It's very rare, but once in a while, I've had people say, I spoke with DP and he told me to stick with what I have. He told me to go with that other option. It's very, very rare, but he's going to tell you he's going to take good care of you. He's going to do the right thing. And if he doesn't get your business, he may get it later. But you're going to sleep better at night knowing that he told you the truth and took good care of you. dp.lambert@goosehead.com. We're going to wrap up this first segment, buddy, but thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Talk to you soon. All right, folks, if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, we are offering a free strategy session to you. It costs you literally nothing. You don't have to commit to anything. We sit down for 30 to 90 minutes. We can jump on Zoom if we need to, phone call if we have to, and make sure that you can also sleep like a baby at night, knowing that your real estate plans and your goals are thought through, your questions have been answered, and you've got a really good idea of what lies ahead in real estate. That's completely free. All you got to do is call or text the word strategy to 214-310-0008. That's 214-310-0008. Welcome back, party people. Welcome back. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but the Federal Reserve had a little retreat, had a little meeting, a little powwow this last week. And it almost doesn't matter what they actually said. What matters is how people are responding, and we're going to keep our eye on that throughout the week ahead. But what does matter is the sentiment, the mindset, the feelings, the thoughts of the marketplace. And sadly, whether you like it or not, our country operates almost entirely on The response to things, not the things. The feelings about the things.
Feelings.
About the things. Yeah, you know how I feel about the feelings. See what I did there?
You know how I feel about feelings.
I think that feelings are real, but not reliable. And that they are of use, but often quite harmful. And I think if you look at the stock market, for example, it's not always that the earnings came out and say this. It's that the earnings came out and everybody felt a certain way and responded a certain way. We nowhere nearly as much as we used to. And that doesn't mean one is right or wrong. I have an opinion about that. But what it means is that when it came to financial markets, housing markets, interest rates, rates of return, investments, buying, selling of things, it used to be very analytical and used to be able to say, well, that makes sense because supply, demand, rates. And in a lot of ways, those fundamentals are still there. But when things like this happen and the Federal Reserve chairman comes out and makes a big announcement, the marketplace can respond logically, illogically, or whatever. And that's the most important thing. So, for example, we have not had a Federal Reserve Fed rate reduction in over 4 years, basically 4.5 years. So the world then loses its mind when there is a Fed rate reduction, although the expectation of a Fed rate reduction has already been expected and therefore kind of priced into the financial markets. Bond rate returns, stock market optimism or pessimism, and mortgage rate returns, which are obviously very different. We talked about that on this show forever and ever and ever. When the Fed lowers the rate, they're not lowering the mortgage rate. They're lowering the banking rate, the Fed rate, the interbanking borrowing rates. And there's a lot of different ways to say that. That usually has kind of a correlation on the 10-year Treasury bond, which is the more reliable correlation to mortgage rates. And a lot of people don't care about that. The point is, mortgage rates have already come down a bit. They're going to be all over the place for a little while. They'll probably go up a little bit and down a little bit. They probably won't go up a ton or down a ton until we kind of settle into politics, decision-making, elections in next year, and who knows? They're still volatile all the time. So all that to say, this show is less about what is the mortgage rate today. Ask me tomorrow, it'll be different. But it is about what are consumers thinking? And there is a tinge of optimism that the Fed is acting a little differently. Now, the weird thing is that the Fed tends to act differently because they got what they wanted, which is a cruddier economy. Now, what they want is for the prices of stuff to stop running away like crazy, which we call inflation. The price of the cost of things has been inflated. It used to cost $2, now it costs $3. The interesting thing is the inflation rate is only an annual number. So if something was $5 5 years ago and now it's $10, the inflation rate is how much more is it than last year? So we'll be like, oh, it's a 4% rate. You're like, yeah, but it was 11 last year and 13 the year before. But because the rate is all these just handpicked certain items packaged into a bundle and we value that and probably manipulate that, no one really trusts the rate. We just use it as a relative comparison. But you may be like, my groceries 5 years ago cost $200 and now they cost $437. It's more than doubled. But the inflation says we've got it down to 3.8 or whatever. So that's what we're dealing with. That's what's going on when the Fed makes these big announcements, when they meet and they evaluate jobs and they evaluate, the cost of goods and certain measurements and other GDP and gross, what is our country producing and consuming and all these things. All that to say, what matters is how we're responding. And the response from the marketplace already really for weeks before the announcement even has been little incremental increases in optimism in the real estate market. Believe it or not, for the first time in 2+ years, we're seeing people a little more positive about buying and selling houses. I believe you're going to see that increase significantly as there are some reasons to be positive about real estate. Here in DFW, there are a lot of reasons. Even in the sloggiest, ugliest, least fun parts of the last couple of years where we've seen mortgage rates triple, there have still been good deals. Sellers have still been able to, more often than not, get all-time record-breaking sales prices, certainly with our team, with a guarantee, by the way. And buyers have been able to get better and better deals. Now, that doesn't mean lower and lower prices, but more and more favorable deals relative to the norm in the market, meaning fair prices at pretty good terms, with reasonable back and forth with the seller, give and take. I think both of those things will be true through the end of the year, maybe into February. And then we're going to see sellers have more of an advantage again as we go into March and April, and we see buyers buying up more of those houses, and we see slightly less homes available, and we see the lower rates, which I do expect will have some slightly lower rates going into the new year, creating more buyers to compete with for buyers. That benefits sellers. So if I'm a buyer, I want to buy right now. I want to buy before the end of the year. Doesn't mean you have to. Doesn't mean if you're not ready, you should. You shouldn't do something impulsive and dangerous. But if you are ready, I would be buying right now. If I'm a seller, I would feel really good about selling right now because of that increased optimism. I wouldn't be quite as urgent in my selling, but I would be looking at selling between now and next summer because there's going to be, I believe, a wave of optimism, more competition from buyers. And then we might sort of spend that pent-up demand by the so-called selling season next year of late spring and summer. So that's kind of my read on the market. Those are the parts of the Fed activity that I care about most, that I look at most. We have a very, very good track record of seeing where the market is going. We're not trying to predict exact numbers, but I think that's where the market is going for buyers and sellers and homeowners. If you're a homeowner in DFW, I believe you're going to continue to be really, really glad that you're a homeowner. You might not be thrilled about paying your taxes, but you're going to be really glad that you bought that asset earlier and that you own it going into the future. If you want to own one, you're going to be happy the sooner you can get your home and keep it or get another one or upgrade or whatever. You're going to be happy that you've done that. If you're a seller, you don't need to be quite as urgent about that. But there are reasons that now is becoming a really good time to sell again, and that early next year and into the spring will be a great time to sell as well. I think values will keep going up. Therefore, I think, timing's not going to be as difficult for sellers. I think timing is always really critical for buyers. Now, if the market was flipping to prices going down, then that flips. Like, you better sell now because prices are going down. And buyers can be a little bit more patient. So right now, if I'm a buyer, I'm in a hurry. I'm not making a poor choice, an impulsive bad choice. I'm going to get with the team like the Todd Tremonti home selling team. I'm going to have that conversation as early as I can so all my options are available. I'm going to go get a free strategy session. I'm going to use the very good strategy that everyone else doesn't know about. And if I'm a seller, I'm going to go get that over-under guarantee from the Todd Tremonti home selling team. I'm going to get into that 7-step proprietary marketing system, but I can be a little bit more flexible and patient and time that out either to my convenience or perfectly for the marketplace. So over-under agent, that's what we call ourselves. The over-under guarantee is we guarantee to sell your home over the average price and under the average time. We also guarantee to save you at least $5,000 throughout the purchase process. Go to toddtremontiteam.com. That's toddtremontiteam.com. If you forget all of that, just Google my name, spell it as best you can. You'll find us. Call any number, text any number, click any button, fill out any form. Whenever you're ready to talk, we'll be happy to talk and take great care of you. But don't wait. The earlier we talk, the better off you'll be.
Realtor.com posted this week that nationally, the best time to buy in 2024 is the week of September 29th through October 5th. This week historically has shown the best balance of market conditions that favor buyers.
Round of applause. Now,
is there still a chance?
Now that's national, so we want to be a little bit careful and go, okay, that's a good indication that normally, broadly, on average, late September to early October is a great time. Now, Courtney, I don't know, as the producer of this little show we got going here, you've been paying attention at all. I don't know if you have been.
No.
There's been some selfies being taken. I'm just saying, I don't know if you've heard everything. But maybe, just maybe, you have heard me every fall for a decade or more, and certainly this year, saying that the fall is, in fact,
the best time to buy. If I know anything, that's what I know.
It's my favorite time, personally, to buy and sell. And if you can trust my word, you can certainly trust my actions. And my wife and I, every single time we have ever bought and sold a home for our family, have bought and sold mid to late fall or early winter. So I'm talking like October, November, basically, is when we try to get that done. I agree with the National Association of Realtors, not on everything, obviously. But on this one, I think they're just looking at raw data and saying, look, buyers tend to get the best bang for the buck, the best value, the best opportunities, the best back and forth, the best negotiability, the best wiggle room from sellers, the best houses, the best options, all that. Late September, early October. And by the way, if you put a house under contract late September, early October, you typically are closing when? Late October, early November. Wait, is that what I just said? Oh my gosh, what's going on?
Well, that's what I was wondering. Is there today is September 21st. I mean, is there still a chance for me?
And now this.
Yes. It's her favorite audio drop. News flash. Warning. Yes, there's still a chance for you to do well. According to the National Association of Realtors, who has an absurd amount of data, they're telling you literally the best time in the year. Now, they're not saying 2024 compared to 2016. They're saying over the course of the calendar year, this is the week to 2 weeks where buyers have the best opportunity, the most leverage, the best options, all the above. All things considered, if they had to pick a week, they're picking September 29th, that week. Well, how about next week? How about that's just a random average? So the next couple of weeks, the next few weeks. And if you get something done, if you reach out to our team, go to toddtremonteteam.com or just call or text 214-310-0008 or toddtremonteteam.com. And you do that in the next week. We'll talk. We'll sit down in the next week or so in the office or on Zoom, or we have a Fort Worth office and a Richardson office, and we'll answer all your questions. And you might go, nope, not going to buy. Not the time to do that. Nope. I'd rather wait to sell and I'll buy then. Sure. Okay. We'll talk you through that. And we're often recommending that to you. Ooh, hey, it doesn't seem like this is the right time for your family. Ooh, hey, financially, you guys should wait. But if we sat down or got on Zoom and we were like, wow, this is the right time for you, your family, and your finances, then guess what? You might achieve what I already said, and now NAR is confirming, literally your best opportunity of 2024. Now, I think this will be the best opportunity for the rest of your life because I think DFW home values are just going up. Not every single day for the rest of your life, but almost every day for the rest of your life, I believe, barring something crazy, which could happen, just about every day for the rest of your life, home values in DFW are going to go up. You've heard me say it here. If you want your kids to own a home here, you might want to buy it now. Doesn't mean that has to be the house, but it means you're owning a chunk of DFW real estate that you could trade later or help them trade later or sell to them later or whatever. But look, what's happened in your lifetime in DFW? What's happened in your home ownership lifetime in DFW? I can tell you one thing. I don't know a single person who doesn't wish their parents or grandparents didn't buy more real estate in DFW or almost anywhere, but especially DFW. We have weathered the worst of it better than just about anybody, and we've experienced a lot of the good times too. So all that to say, if you're thinking about buying or selling a home, let's have a quick conversation. 214-310-0008. That's 214-310-0008 or online at
ToddTremonteTeam.com.
And by the way, don't ever forget.
Google Todd Tremonte and check out over 700 5-star reviews.
Sweetest little voice in the world.
The more we talk, I just cannot believe people even attempt to do this without an agent.
Now, let me play devil's advocate. I can totally believe it. You know why? Most agents are terrible. Like I'm proud that after seeing behind the curtain of how hard our agents work and how big of a difference they make every time. And the people that think they kind of got away with one without having an agent, you're getting to witness the carnage of that, or just kind of the unknown missed opportunity, which is, by the way, the best case. People are happy. They don't know how much they left on the table or how much liability they have, and hopefully it never hits them in the face. But you're witnessing the carnage that can be caused by not having an expert involved in such a complex thing. Now, but I think people have a good reason. They're like, I've bought and sold 3 times. I've sold twice and bought 3 times, and I've never had an exceptional experience. As a matter of fact, twice I've had a complete nightmare experience, and twice it was okay, and once it was a friend and it was fine, right? That's the normal experience of buyers and sellers, and I do have compassion for that. Now, I still think you are responsible for changing that. If you want a better experience next time, find a better expert. If you want a different outcome next time, find a different approach next time. Find a full-time, fully dedicated, expert, focused agent who works with buyers or sellers in one area and not the other, who's not doing residential, commercial, industrial. That you can't be an expert in all those things. Find an expert. On our team, we say differentiate with excellence. That's one of our company core values. I don't necessarily think these other agents are liars.
You sit on a throne of lies.
But I do think they're misleading people. Maybe by accident. Maybe they really, truly, genuinely want to be great, and they are well-intentioned, kind, thoughtful, honest people with integrity. But so often, the average agent is just not an expert. They're not full-time. They're not fully committed. And I'm not yelling at or belittling, single parents doing their best, getting into real estate part-time before you're full-time. I'm not talking trash to you, but I'm not willing to compromise on the fact that when a person or a family or partnership or whatever goes and spends hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on real estate, that demands expertise. We don't look for part-time attorneys. And I know all these things aren't perfect parallels. When I have a really complicated tax year, I don't go to the little super simple, super cheap tax office around the corner. I look for a really sharp CPA with relevant experience. And I want the world to make more sense around real estate. When you're spending a lot of money and you want a great, unique, better than normal outcome, get you a great, unique, better than normal agent, team, or brokerage. There's not many of us out there. Sad truth. When there's 1 million plus agents, by the way, I've done this on the show before, but let's just say there's 300 million Americans. We all know there's like 340, 350 something or whatever. Sure, 350 million Americans. How many of them are full-time working adults? At best, maybe 100 million, right? You got children, elderly, non-working, non-full-time, right? I think it would be very generous to say 100 million. Not that long ago, there were over 2 million real estate people. Not members of NAR, but just total real estate people. Now there's probably 1.4 or something like that. That's 1.4% of the working adult population. Now, you and I know it's probably more like 2.5% because we're being very conservative with those numbers.
I just, in my life and how I am like trying to wade through what is true, who can actually help me.
You say it all the time. You're like, I don't trust.
I don't believe anything anymore. And so I don't know. I just at least this is something that I am proud to like work here and say we are going to take care of you. And you're crazy if you hire your nephew.
Amen, sister. Unless one of your nephews works here. Or at another. Very rare. There's not a whole lot of others, but another place where people that truly care about people and are committed full time and have resources and team and expertise and continue to commit to learning and all the things.
But don't do it as a favor. This is not don't do it as a way to hook up your commission.
That's the dumbest thing ever.
With helping somebody else.
I'm going to do you a $10,000, $12,000 favor
and
makes
be zero sense.
Unbelievably vulnerable and at risk for the rest of my home ownership. Anyway, all that to say, I very much appreciate your comment, but I'm just trying to be realistic with our audience. I do understand why people are like, I'm just not going to use an agent. I'm just going to call the listing agent directly. It's just like maybe once in my whole career have I seen that like go unpunished, go without fail, like actually work out for someone. And it was luck, and luck is not repeatable. Luck is not sustainable. We just don't do this in other important areas of our life, legal, accounting, medical. And I understand there are times that those things are more consequential than real estate. But what the consumer doesn't understand is those are rare. More often than not, your real estate decisions, your huge financial decisions, your home, safety, health, investment, all these things, that decision is as if not more consequential than those other ones all the time.
Yeah, and it's about the stuff that you can miss.
Yeah,
I understand. Miss. Yes, I understand like the obvious transaction, but it's what we talked about earlier in the first segment. How Gibson navigated almost losing a deal,
and that just happens all the time. The world is not getting less complicated.
No,
the contracts are not getting shorter and simpler. Mm-hmm. So all that to say, when it's time for you to buy or sell and invest in real estate, we are imploring you to get uncomfortable for a minute, sit down in an office with a professional, look them in the eye, see their technology, see their team, see their process. By all means, check and see if their brand promise or their guarantee is legit. Ours is that we guarantee to sell your home over the average price and under the average time. And we guarantee to save you at least $5,000 throughout the purchase process of buying a home. You can go to ToddTremontiTeam.com. You can read over 700 5-star reviews and some non-5 stars, by the way. You can see what the angriest people in DFW have to say. Some of them, I have no idea who they are. I don't think they even worked with us. And find out if we're legit and if you like us and if you would like to be around us and if you would trust our leadership and our guidance. And then the next best, smartest, most appropriate step is to give us a phone call. We'll talk, actual talk. Text is okay, it's fine. But talking, getting a feel for each other's wise. And then typically that leads to a meeting in the office, in our Fort Worth office or our Richardson office. If those two locations don't make perfect sense for you, sure, we'll find a coffee shop or a neutral place to meet. We don't meet in strangers' houses and say sensitive things because everyone has a camera. But we have a great conversation. We call that a free strategy session. Hey, it's free. You don't have to sign anything. You don't have to pay anything. Let's just talk about your wants and your needs and your dreams and your goals. And we might go, ooh, hey, we're not the best fit to help you with that. Or you might go, wow, I didn't even know that something like this existed. That's actually the most common response we get is like, dude, I didn't know realtors talk this way. Let's go. And that might be let's go now, or let's go early next year, or let's go in 3 years when the kids graduate, or hey, let's downsize tomorrow, or let's buy another one or sell another one. But we love this stuff, y'all. We feel like God has uniquely gifted us. I've hired people that I feel like God has uniquely gifted to care for people and fight for people and celebrate your wins as our wins. Our trophies are your success stories. We want you to be the next one. 214-310-0008 or ToddTremontiTeam.com or just Google Todd Tremonti. Now, GoodGarageFloors.com. Chris was on the show, I think last week, and we talked about what a cool transformation they did in our backyard with a old, ugly, busted up concrete slab that is now a really cool, good looking pickleball basketball court, not to mention our garage floors that I didn't know how much I wanted and needed. Awesome looking, awesome clean, good smelling, easy to wipe up garage floors. But if you're a garage floor person, or even if you didn't know you were, but you like your things to look good, be clean, and increase your value, check out goodgaragefloors.com. Huge 20% discount just for our listeners, our friends, and our neighbors through the fall. Goodgaragefloors.com. This stuff is awesome. Protects your home, improves your value, and improves your enjoyment of your ownership. That's your garage floors, your patios, your decks, your pool decks, your sport courts, basketball courts, driveways, any of your concrete services. Goodgaragefloors.com. 20% off for our friends, our neighbors, and our listeners. Goodgaragefloors.com. And if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, let's have that conversation now. You cannot start that conversation too early, but sadly, most people do, in fact, start it way too late. And then they have less options, less safety, less security, less winning, and we want to help you win. Check us out online at ToddTremontiTeam.com, 214-310-0008,